Cinderella, A Tale of Ashes and Dreams. Chapter 1. The House of Shadows. Once upon a time, in a kingdom where the seasons seemed always touched by a golden glow, there stood a manor of elegant arches and tall windows. Long ago, laughter had filled its halls. Roses grew wild along its stone walls, and music from the piano drifted across the garden on quiet evenings. That was when Lady Eleanor lived, the first mistress of the house, wife to Lord Alaric, and mother to their only daughter, Ella. Ella was a child of bright spirit. She spent her mornings running barefoot across the meadows, her hair glinting like spun sunlight, and her afternoons tucked beside her mother, who taught her the secrets of kindness, how to treat servants with respect, how to tend to an injured bird, how to listen when the world seemed too busy to hear. Lady Eleanor's voice carried a melody, gentle but strong. Kindness, my little one, is the greatest treasure you will ever own. But Lady Eleanor fell ill one bitter winter. Snow pressed heavy upon the manor's roof, and Ella sat by her mother's bed as the candle burned lower and lower. When Eleanor passed, the laughter in the house dimmed to silence. Lord Alaric, desperate to keep his daughter safe, sought another wife. He believed a lady of noble birth could care for Ella, and so he married Lady Seraphina, a widow with 2 daughters of her own. At first, Seraphina's smile seemed warm. Anastasia and Drusilla, her daughters, curtsied with affected sweetness. But beneath the lace and jewels of their gowns beat hearts steeped in envy. For Ella, with her natural beauty and unpolished grace, reminded them of everything they were not. Lord Alaric, though loving, was often away on matters of the kingdom. It was during these absences that Seraphina showed her true self. "We cannot have the child growing up spoiled," she said one evening, her jeweled fingers tapping the table. "She must learn humility." From then on, Ella was moved from her chamber to the attic, her silk gowns exchanged for coarse work dresses. She was tasked with tending the fires, scrubbing floors, and mending torn hems. Ash clung to her hands, her skirts, even her hair. The stepsisters laughed cruelly, calling her Cinderella. The name stuck, a brand pressed upon her spirit. Yet Ella bore it quietly. Whenever despair threatened her, she remembered her mother's words. Chapter 2. Whispers of Dreams. Years passed, each day folding into the next with chores and insults. Yet even in hardship, Cinderella found pockets of joy. She befriended the sparrows that perched by the attic window, leaving crumbs for them when bread was scarce. She hummed songs her mother once sang, weaving them into the hush of the night. And she dreamed, oh, how she dreamed. In those dreams, she was not the servant crouched by the hearth, but the girl running through wild meadows once more, free as the wind. One morning, as Cinderella fetched water from the well, she overheard the villagers buzzing with excitement. A royal proclamation had been made. The king and queen were to host a grand ball in honor of their son, Prince Adrian. Every maiden of the kingdom was invited, for the prince was of age to marry. News traveled swiftly to the manor. Anastasia and Drusilla squealed, already scheming about gowns and jewels. Lady Seraphina's eyes gleamed with ambition. "One of you shall surely win his heart," she declared. "And when you do, our family will rise higher than ever before." Cinderella's heart fluttered with impossible hope. A ball, a chance to dance, to forget, if only for a night, the ashes that stained her days. "Stepmother," she ventured softly, "may I go as well?" The invitation said all maidens of the kingdom. Seraphina's laughter was sharp. "You, attend the royal ball in rags? Do not be absurd." Anastasia and Drusilla giggled, clutching their skirts. "But if I had something proper to wear?" "Silence," Seraphina snapped. "Your place is here. Who would tend the fires, serve the supper, and prepare us for the evening if not you?" Cinderella bowed her head, hiding the sting in her eyes. Still, as she stitched the sisters' gowns late into the night, her dreams burned quietly, refusing to die. Chapter 3. The Spark of Magic. The night of the ball arrived. The manor bustled with chaos, powders, perfumes, jewels scattered across tables. Cinderella moved like a shadow, lacing corsets, curling hair, and adjusting hems. Anastasia preened before the mirror, while Drusilla whined about her ribbons. At last, the carriage arrived. Seraphina swept out with her daughters, leaving Cinderella alone in the silent house. She watched from the doorway as the carriage wheels disappeared into the distance. Her heart ached with longing. She sank before the hearth, her tears dampening the ashes. "I only wanted one night," she whispered. "One night to feel like myself again." It was then that the air shifted. A warm glow blossomed in the room, and from it stepped a woman clothed in silver light. Her eyes sparkled like starlight, her voice gentle as a lullaby. "Why do you weep, child?" Cinderella startled, wiping her eyes. Who are you? I am your fairy godmother, the woman said with a smile. I have heard the cry of your heart. And I have come to grant you a gift. Hope flickered through Cinderella's sorrow. But, how? I have no gown, no carriage, nothing. Hush now, said the godmother, lifting her wand. Where there is kindness and courage, there is always magic. With a sweep, the pumpkin by the hearth swelled and shimmered, transforming into a golden carriage. Mice scurried across the floor, their fur glowing as they rose into sleek white horses. A lizard from the garden stretched and turned into a coachman, bowing smartly. Then the godmother turned to Cinderella. With another sweep, her rags melted into a gown of silver and blue, glittering like the night sky. Slippers of glass encased her feet, delicate yet unbreakable. Cinderella gasped, her hands trembling over the gown. It's beautiful. The godmother smiled knowingly. So are you, my dear. Now listen. The spell will last only until the stroke of midnight. After that, all will return as it was. Do you understand? Cinderella nodded eagerly. Yes, godmother. Then go, and dance to your heart's content. And so the carriage swept Cinderella away into the night, carrying her toward destiny. Chapter 4. The Prince and the Mystery. The royal palace glittered like a jewel under the moonlight. Torches lined the grand staircase, where guests in silks and satins ascended in awe. Inside, music swelled as chandeliers spilled golden light across marble floors. When Cinderella entered, a hush fell over the ballroom. Heads turned, whispers rippled like wind. None had ever seen such grace, such quiet radiance. Even Anastasia and Drusilla, preening in their finery, failed to recognize the girl who had stitched their gowns. Prince Adrian stood by the dais, his smile practiced as he greeted endless streams of noblewomen. But when his eyes met Cinderella's, the world stilled. She carried no arrogance, no hunger for power, only wonder, as though she herself could not believe she belonged there. He crossed the floor at once. May I have this dance? He asked, bowing deeply. Cinderella curtsied, her heart racing. Yes, your highness. As they danced, music swirled around them, but they heard only each other. He spoke of his longing for more than duty, that he sought a partner of spirit, not just title. She spoke of dreams, hidden in ashes, of freedom found in kindness. With every step, they drew closer, as though they had known each other all their lives. But time is a cruel thief. The clock's hands crept toward midnight. As the final bell tolled, Cinderella's heart jolted. I must go, she gasped, pulling from his grasp. Wait, Adrian cried, chasing after her. She fled down the marble stairs, her slipper catching on the step. It slipped from her foot, but she had no time to retrieve it. The carriage wheels thundered into the night as her gown dissolved back into rags. Breathless, barefoot, she vanished into the darkness, leaving behind only a single glass slipper. Chapter 5. The Search for Truth. The palace was thrown into frenzy. The prince held the slipper as if it were a sacred relic. I will find her, he vowed. No other shall do. Messengers spread across the kingdom. From village to village, manor to manor, they carried the slipper, commanding every maiden to try it on. Yet no foot fit, too large, too small, too wide. At last, the search reached the manor. Anastasia and Drusilla bustled forward eagerly. One by one, they forced their feet into the slipper, but it would not fit. Lady Seraphina, her eyes sharp, whispered, surely there is no need to trouble ourselves with the servant girl. She was not at the ball. But the captain of the guard, bound by duty, insisted. Every maiden must try. Cinderella stepped forward, her hands trembling. The slipper slid onto her foot as though made for her. Gasps filled the room. Seraphina lunged, hissing, no. She is nothing but a scullery maid. But Cinderella lifted her chin, her spirit shining. I am more than that. I am my mother's daughter. I am kind, even when shown no kindness. And I am worthy of love. At that moment, Prince Adrian himself entered, having followed the search. He saw her, and all doubt fell away. It was you, he whispered, joy lighting his face. Yes, Cinderella breathed. He took her hand, and together they stepped into the dawn of a new life. Chapter 6. Ashes to Light. The wedding bells rang across the kingdom. Villagers poured into the streets, cheering as the prince and his bride rode past. The palace, once a distant dream, became Cinderella's new home. Yet she did not forget the lessons of the hearth. She treated every servant with kindness, every stranger with respect. The glass slippers were placed not as symbols of wealth, but as reminders that even the humblest dream can shine. As for Seraphina and her daughters, their envy turned to shame. The prince, at Cinderella's request, spared them punishment, but their place of privilege was gone. They lived quietly thereafter, left to ponder the folly of cruelty. Cinderella, now queen, often walked through the palace gardens, where sparrows still sang. She would pause, lift her face to the sunlight, and whisper, "Thank you, mother. Your words carried me through the ashes." And so, from sorrow bloomed joy, from cruelty grew compassion, and from ashes rose a queen whose reign was remembered not for her crown, but for her heart.